Hey everyone, as the little sticky note on your screen suggests, I'm going to show you my hack for getting over the fear of starting a sketchbook. So you just got a new sketchbook and you're excited to work in it. But there's one thing getting in the way, starting that first page. The anxiety of messing it up and therefore ruining it, there's air quotes around that, you can't see it, but they're there, of ruining this brand new sketchbook is very real. So many of us want that aesthetic artist look that blesses so many others in their sketchbooks. And when you first open that sketchbook to work in it, it's the first thing you see before flipping to an empty page. Or when someone else looks in it, it's their first impression of your art. That first page is really daunting. You want it to be great, therefore you're nervous that you'll mess it up. I've abandoned several sketchbooks in the past because the first page didn't come out how I envisioned it to. It took several years and several abandoned sketchbooks to finally figure out a method that works for me for starting sketchbooks. And now it's my favorite thing to do. I want to show you how I do it, so maybe it can help you overcome that first page block. Step 1 to my process is super duper simple. It's the biggest step. Everything else branches off this step. Start at the back. Our anxiety is sitting on that first page, so just turn past it. By starting at the back, I no longer fear messing up the first page and therefore the sketchbook, which frees me to the possibility of working through it until I'm comfortable enough to start that first page. Step 2, and this is in air quotes as well, uglify it, but in a productive way. When I say uglify, I mean test the paper. Paper tests are never pretty. So if you're afraid of making it ugly, testing the paper is going to help you with that in so many ways. This is a great step if you're using a sketchbook you've never used before, or if it's one that you haven't used in a while. So this sketchbook that I'm using, I showed earlier, it's a Hahnemühle watercolor sketchbook or watercolor journal. I have used it before, but it's been about 5 years since I filled my first one and my last one. I have a sketchbook tour of that sketchbook that I'll show up above, but all I remember about that sketchbook is that it was my favorite 5 years ago. And I've always said for the past 5 years that that has been my favorite one. I don't remember how the paper is. It's been so long. So before I go into an elaborate painting, I want to know how the paper is going to react to my medium. How will the paper absorb my paints? How easily will they lift? How bad is the warping from doing washes of a wet medium? How textured is the paper? And will it affect my color pencils and artist crayons that I like to use? I get the answers to these questions by using the last page to my advantage. Knowledge of my surface gives me confidence in the sketchbook. So you can see here that I'm utilizing this last page just to see how it blends, to see how the paper takes in the watercolors. But doing simple tests is just, it's easy. You know, you can do a color wheel if you want to. You can do this little primary blend. use that last page to your advantage. I ended up using this whole last page, to test out different things. I did a little landscape at the bottom, just kind of a little like grass study sort of thing. And I used some colored pencils on the cherries, and then I added in the information for the sketchbook itself, the page, the size, the little summary thing. I glued those in here just because I wanted to keep that information in the back of the sketchbook, because it doesn't have a pocket, and that's usually stuff that I like to keep in there for when I do eventual sketchbook tours. Step 3. When I'm ready to paint my first piece, I'm still not going to do it on the front. I'm saving that front page for when I'm used to the paper and I'm loaded with motivation and feel warmed up enough. Instead, I'll either pick a page in the back or even somewhere in the middle of the sketchbook, and I'll paint something that I'm comfortable with. I've tested the paper with my materials, and now this is an actual test painting, and that's how I see it, as a test painting. To see how everything that I've tested, the wet mediums, the colored pencils, the crayons, how those things come together into one piece. I'll paint a bird or some flowers, something that I'm familiar with, and something simple that allows me, again, to test all my materials at once. I did this color study mainly because I'm addicted to them, and I wanted to see if the paper would buckle under all the wet swatches that I end up putting down, one after another, after another, after another, which is another important thing, is to see how the paper buckles, because that means that the paper has the possibility of pooling your paints if you use a lot of washes. after doing my, I can't say it was a quick color study. It really wasn't quick. These take a little bit of time. But after I was done with it, I then decided to do a cute little blueberry painting, mainly because I was going to turn it into a sticker for my patrons to match the print that you can see here. And because I knew I was going to layer the washes in color pencil. It's a small piece to reflect the print that's what I did for the original painting. I did a ton of washes and then went in with some detailed brush strokes and color pencil and crayon. And I thought it was a good way to, you know, again, test the paper just to make sure it's how I hold up. And honestly, after doing this, I'm completely confident in the sketchbook now and my understanding of it, and I'm so excited to work in this again and probably feel ready to start at the front now. But by doing these simple steps, I've overcome my fear of starting sketchbooks. I am so quick to start a sketchbook now because it's my favorite thing to do, and I love the feeling of completing them, even if it takes me ages to do so. But completing them is like closing another chapter, and it means I get to start a new one. Which, after doing so many like this, yeah, I'm not scared to do them anymore. I hope this method can help serve you as a way to overcome your own sketchbook obstacles. And if you do try this out, take a picture of your last page and tag me. My Facebook and Instagram are down below. I want to see how you kicked sketchbook starting anxiety in the face, so I can be your giant hype girl. Like, I will hype you through your sketchbook journey and just overcoming the challenge of starting one. I hope you found this helpful. If you have a different way that you like to start your sketchbooks, I would love to hear it. You know, I'm sure that there are people who would love to see that in the comments too. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And I'm super excited to see you guys next time. Bye!